Welcome back to the Wargrove of Woe, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at two really interesting Soulblight Gravelords units, Neferata and Mannfred. These two characters have a lot of history, spanning all the way back to the world that was and the end times, up until the current age of Sigmar. Personally, I love these two models. I don't play Soulblight Gravelords, so I don't own any, but I have myself a Archon, which is built from the same kit. So the Abyssal Terrors are super cool. I wish there was a little bit more lore on them, but anyway, let's get into it. First up is Neferata, Mortarch of Blood. Neferata comes in at 365 points. She has a 16-inch move that degrades, 10 bravery, 12 wounds, 3-up save, 2 casts, 2 unbinds. She has a few melee profiles. Akhmet Har, 1-inch reach, 5 attacks, 2s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 1 damage. And then Akin Seth, which is 1-inch reach, 2 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, 2 rend, 2 damage. And then the Abyssal Tear has 1-inch reach, and then a degrading chart for attacks that starts at 6, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, 2 rend, 2 damage. And then the Spectral Claws and Daggers, 1-inch reach, 6 attacks, 5s to hit, 4s to wound, no rend, 1 damage. She has a unique spell in Dark Mist, 12-inch reach, casting value of 6, and it is a really good spell in that you pick a Soulblight Gravelord unit wholly within range, and they ignore negative modifiers to save. So it's basically a better ethereal save. Their save cannot be negatively modified, but it can be positively modified. So very good spell. Her command ability is also really good. It is a -1 to hit for all Soulblight Gravelord units wholly within 12 inches in melee combat, so you can still shoot them. For her unique abilities, at the end of any phase, if wounds inflicted by Akhmet Har are allotted on an enemy hero on a 5-up, that enemy hero is slain. In the end of the combat phase, Neferata can heal quite a bit more than regular vampires if any models are slain. She can heal D3, and then 6s to hit with the Spectral Claws deal 1 mortal wound. So, Neferata is a very interesting character, especially for Soulblight Gravelords. I think she's very valuable in being a debuffing and defensive piece for your army. That's kind of going to be her main shtick with her spell, her command ability, and all that jazz. She is pretty good at hero killing, potentially, if you get some wounds through with Akhmet Har. And so yeah, really her best utilities are being a defensive bubble piece. Getting that -1 to hit and the ignore negative modifiers to save is really powerful. She can do some damage in combat if you really want her to. She has a good save. Yeah, generally a good thing to pick up. She's a little bit on the expensive side, so it's not necessarily an auto include, but definitely something to look out for if you want to include Neferata. If you're wanting to maximize her, use her as a protective bubble around your main force and annoy your opponents with debuffs or negating their ability to do damage. On the other end of the spectrum is Mannfred von Karstein, the Mortarch of Night. So if Neferata was a defensive Mortarch, I would say Mannfred is more of an offensive Mortarch. He's all about kind of trickery with teleportation shenanigans and being more in your face than Neferata. For stats, he has a 16-inch move to start with that degrades, 10 bravery, 12 wounds, a 3-up save, 2 casts, 2 unbinds. For melee profiles, his first one is Geistvor, at least I think that's how you pronounce it, 1-inch reach, 4 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, D3 damage, and then the Sickleglaive, 2-inch reach, 2 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage, and then the Abyssal Talons from his mount, 1-inch reach, a degrading chart for attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, 2 rend, 2 damage, and then the Spectral Claws and Daggers. For magic, he has a little bit more of an offensive spell, Wind of Death, which, unlike in Total War Warhammer 2, is a little bit meh. I'd say it's kind of like a better Arcane Bolt, which It's not bad. An 18-inch reach, cast time value is 7. You pick one enemy within range and roll a dice for that unit, and each enemy unit within 6 inches of the initial target. On a 3-up, you deal D3 mortal wounds. So it's not bad. It does some AoE damage potentially. But the only thing that kind of sets it back from Arcane Bolt specifically is it is not guaranteed. You have to get a 3-up, which is a pretty good DC, but still. His command ability is really good. It's an offensively minded one. You just get a +1 to hit and wound for friendly Soulblight Gravelord units, wholly within 12. For unique abilities, at the end of any phase, if any models are slain by Geistvor, you give +1 attack to Soulblight Gravelord units wholly within 12. So very good if you want to keep him near your big blobs of zombies or Graveguard or just kind of your hammer units. If you start with Von Karstein and you kill something, you can get some multiplicative value from him. At the end of combat, he's a vampire, so he can heal. If he kills some models, he can heal D3. 6 to hit with Spectral Claws, deal 1 mortal wound. And at the start of the combat phase, Mannfred can teleport if he is in combat. So just kind of a way to be a little tricksy with him. If you really need some flexible movement options, Mannfred is your go-to for that. So Mannfred is all about being an offensive multiplying force. Your command ability, the special giving +1 attacks to your nearby Soulblight Gravelords units, is really powerful. Like I said when we were starting to talk about Mannfred, if you were to compare Mannfred and Neferata, Mannfred is offense and Neferata is defense. So if you're trying to tailor your list around that, consider which one of those is going to be more valuable to you. I think they both have a place on the Soulblight Gravelords roster, and besides being really, really cool models, they can definitely provide you a lot of value. The movement shenanigans with Mortarch of Night is also really interesting. It makes your opponent kind of think a little bit twice about either engaging Mannfred or holding some units back to defend a specific point. So it could kind of mess with their heads a little bit, which is always a good thing. If you can make your opponent either second guess themselves or make hard choices, then that's a good tactical choice. So if you're wanting to maximize the efficiency of Mannfred, you need to realize the power in his flexibility. He's very fast, he can teleport, and he gives you a lot of board pressure. He's also good at making your hammer units hit harder, so think Graveguard. Graveguard is a really powerful unit, so if you can give them extra attacks, that's really powerful. Before we end the video, I would like to give an extra special thanks to our Patreon supporters, especially Nick Hoff. Thank you all so much for supporting this channel and this kind of idea that I had. So it's very awesome to see you guys enjoying the content and being active in the Discord. Speaking of the Discord, if you would like to join that, there will be a link to that in the description below. So that was Mannfred and Neferata. These guys are awesome models and they have some very interesting synergies. I definitely think if you like the models and you like what they can do for you, pick one up. You can very easily magnetize these guys to make them, you can kind of swap between Mannfred and Neferata if you want to. There's some guides out there for magnetizing them. It's not as hard as you think. So yeah. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or a comment. And if you want to see more content in the future, please consider subscribing. This has been the Wargrove of Woe, and I'll see you guys next time.